We get texts where, for example, in the book of Revelation chapter 3, Jesus says he's going to make the enemies of the Christians from the synagogue of Satan come and worship before the disciples' feet, or before the Christians' feet, right? And so this is an example. Oh, I can see we have Dada back there in my own offline device. So we have examples where the word for worship is used. Proskuneo is the typical verb. There are some other words that can be used as well, but that's the word most often used and pointed to by Trinitarians and others in texts where they claim it means he's being worshipped as God. They don't make any distinction between the worship Jesus being given and what God gives, neither in the type of worship or the reason for the worship, or the difference between how the people worshiping them would see, for example, the Father and the Son, similar to how people who would worship at the feet of the Christians would recognize a difference between them and Jesus, even though it's allowed. And we have many, many other texts that show this, right? And I've written about this issue in my books, in other writings, and in several videos. We recently did a video on two texts, one of which was in Revelation chapter 5. We really talked about the whole chapter, because Trinitarians there claim Jesus and the Father God are being given the same type of worship by all of creation. And of course, as we've shown, not only are they failing to recognize the all-inclusive language used there with an explicit exception in both parts of Revelation chapter 5, right? It's the same exception, the Lamb, and it's because he conquered, right? They don't understand that the reason the Lamb is being given, it first explained in Revelation 4:11, like we talked about in that video. Pretty recent. If you want to see it, just go to the live video section. You can't miss it after about 15, 20 videos, maybe less. He's being given that in Revelation 5 because he conquered. He had to die, literally had to die faithful. Just like Hebrews 1:4 and 5 says, he made a purification, sat down at the right hand of God, became mutability, became better than the angels, showing mutability and a difference between the time he was on earth and then died and afterward, which is also true in Philippians 2, right? He was in the form of God, took the form of a man, faithful until death, raised up, given a position, name above every name. It's the same thing Hebrews 1 says. Inherited a name better than the angels. He didn't have that name better than the angels before that, Trinitarians. He didn't have that position before he conquered, Trinitarians. So there's no way even the exact same actions by the exact same people to both God and the Lamb is the same. It explicitly states in Revelation 4:11, God is worthy because he created, katizo, the verb that's never used of the Son and his action toward creation. Kind of like ek, Trinitarians. But in Revelation 5 and elsewhere, Revelation 2, Revelation 3, Revelation 1 even, right? Firstborn from the dead, ruler of the kings of the earth. I was dead, but I became alive, and now I have the keys of death and Hades, right? So it's all throughout, in particular, the book of Revelation, leading right up to chapter 5, where no one among creation can open the seals of the scroll, right? God is not even in an option in this question about who's worthy to open these scrolls, because he's the one determining who's worthy, number one. And the condition of worthiness here is that you had to die faithful to God. So this whole idea of excluding Jesus from creation because all creation is honoring him because he as a creation died faithful is so ridiculous. It's just like their failure in Colossians 1, right? They don't understand firstborn. They collapse over to Panta, even though firstborn is literally used in the same context in verse 18 to mean, birth from death. And Tapanta is used several times in verses 15 through 18 and 20, right? Even beyond that, we showed. It's all throughout Colossians 1 in ways that show there are obvious exceptions that Trinitarians just selectively accept or don't according to their doctrine, right? Their interpretive skills are not, and it's about the doctrine, which is why they don't have any basis for why they make the decisions they do, except their doctrine. So it's really weird. And of course, we've shown, just like with Eve, numerous other examples in the Bible of individuals who are considered as apart from the all, right? Right? Eve's called the mother of every living thing. Obviously, it's not Adam. Obviously, she's not the mother of all the spirit beings. The Trinitarians are amazing when they go through this process of all or non-exclusivity, right? They just can't figure it out. It's either agreeable to their doctrine or forget it, right? Trinity. Whereas we can just show, we can show the context and the reasons why we're saying there are exceptions or not exceptions without requiring our doctrine to be used to interpret everything. Unbelievable stuff, right? Okay, so we have all that. But then Trinitarians, well, no, that's all everyone's worshiping them at the same time. Same way. Trinity, right? No, again, everything I just said, plus, plus 1 Chronicles 29:20, a text again I've cited in all three of my Jehovah's Witnesses defended editions. Referenced in my debates and brought up in my videos, and it's not like a secret text, everybody. But Trinitarians, I got you guys. I'll just keep you guys right there on the little chat, although it might give me a little more room. I'll do that. Let me move that over a bit. Just move this here, because you guys can't really see your comments that well anyway, and probably you're not going to read your comments on the screen. You can see the live chat later. But this way I can make this whole screen bigger, like that. And let's go to the multi here. Right. Okay. So we have 1 Chronicles 29:20, right? Why can't Trinitarians recognize texts like this and other texts that clearly show that the same act by the same people at the same time in the same place can be done to two individuals without them? I mean, the way Trinitarians think is so strange. So you gotta force them to see how these terms and situations are depicted and used in the Bible, and then like I said earlier at the start of the show, they just forget, and a year or so from now, talk to them again. Revelation 5, Colossians 1. Yeah, we've talked all about those texts and showed how you guys are totally gone when it comes to what they say. You force a meaning onto firstborn that's not in the Bible, that it's non-temporal. Even for figurative subjects, it's always temporal Trinitarians. Same with son, right? It wouldn't even matter. Any temporal term, character, all of it, right? Trinitarians just pretend that's not what they mean, right? It never is going to mean that because of Trinity, right? Not because the terms don't mean that, but because Trinity doesn't mean that, right? All right. 1 Chronicles 29:20 and this whole Revelation 5 thing, the Trinitarians go off the edge almost always over because they have collapsed when it comes to understanding terms and context. But again, the whole issue is that God is worthy because he created Katizo, Revelation 4:11. The Lamb is said to be worthy because he conquered. That's why he got the name. That's why he sat down on the throne. Revelation 3:21, Trinitarians. Stood on the watchtower, but that's for chronology. When it comes to you, it's Trinity. See, he conquered and then sat down on the throne. So you see, Trinitarians, it's not his human nature sitting on the throne of God, right? Because then the human nature would be God, right? But even according to you, the human nature is not God because it doesn't know all things. It's not greater, it's lower than the Father, all that stuff. It really crazy stuff, right? But he conquered Trinitarians. That's why he's given that by those people along with God in Revelation 5. It explicitly states that. You are worthy because you conquered. You were slaughtered. And with your blood you bought persons for God out of every tribe, tongue, and nation. It's not because the Lamb is God that he's worshipped along with God in Revelation 5. Just as the Christians in Revelation 3 are not Jesus or God because they're worshipped by the enemies of the Christians with Jesus' approval. And here in 1 Chronicles 29:20, Trinitarians, everybody just write this verse down a little bit, maybe in pencil or somewhere, in Revelation 5, when Trinitarians tried to say this whole receiving worship at the same time, right? It's got to be the same worship. And same worship going to God. What are you talking about, right? Trinity. That's what they want. That's what they say. Even though the reasons are, again, totally different. Like explicitly stated. You are worthy, Lord God, Revelation 4:11, because you create all things. The Lamb is worthy because it was slaughtered. Totally different, right? Same as in Hebrews 1. Same as in Philippians 2. I would even say Colossians 1, right? Firstborn from the dead along with Revelation 1. It's always because of that, Trinitarians. Never because he's God. That's you. And the later stuff. 1 Chronicles 29:20, okay? Just use that. Probably the best way to show Trinitarians who are confused about Revelation 5 that no. Not only are you not explaining why they're each are being worshipped, totally different, hence it can't possibly be the same. If the reasons are different, Trinitarians, just like the reasons Jesus is allowing his followers to be worshipped in Revelation 3 are different, Revelation 3:9, then why God allows him to be worshipped, same verb, proskuneo, Hebrews 1:6. See, the reasons are different, Trinitarians. So it doesn't matter if the verb is the same. Now you want to say, well, the whole circumstances and all the adulation and, like Sam goes bananas in the multiple verb usage and claims all that's worship, right? No, as we explained in our disintegration video, those are just verbs used during prayer at times to God and used in many other situations. But Sam is confused about a great many things. Now, others who aren't like Sam and using this whole multiple verb, multiple verbs to try to define what is prayer without actually defining the words for prayer. That's what Sam did. Well, the other Trinitarians who are a little more sophisticated, they're just basically saying, look, it's the same setting, right? It's the same people, all of creation, they want to say, even though, again, as we've shown, and in Revelation 5 itself, before the whole prayer stuff, it uses the same all-inclusive language. No one can open it. There's no one, nowhere, anywhere, heaven, earth, except the Lamb. And so it's the exact same thing. It's all-inclusive language with an exception. Right after that, and Trinitarians just, for some reason, think that means he's not a creation, See, by the same logic, Trinitarians would say Eve is not something living because she's the mother of everything living, and she's obviously not mother to herself. Or they'd have to say she's eternal, right? Maybe like part of the Godhead, right? Maybe Sam's Mary worship would mutate into something like that, but not right now. So it doesn't work, right? They have to ignore plain and repeated usage of expressions and terms that make it clear how the Bible presents individuals in a unique way in comparison to others like them. So really in Revelation 5, it's saying who is worthy among all creation, right? Because God couldn't be the one who's determining who's worthy and also become lower than the gods and die. None of that is possible for God. We've talked about it numerous times. So it's discussing who among creation. And then once the Lamb is identified as the one who was slaughtered and who conquered and who is therefore worthy, it refers to the rest of creation. It's just like Colossians 1, and just like Colossians 1 uses all exclusive language with a stated exception. Colossians 1, it's firstborn. Used twice in the very same context. Along with first in all things. That's even more inclusive. The first or preeminent in tapanta, in all things. Colossians 1:18, Trinitarians. That to me, Trinitarians right there. See, they literally have to equivocate on the meaning of all things. Like over and over again, right? It means all things here, it doesn't mean it all there. And no real reason contextually or grammatically, just Trinity. That's it, basically, that I've seen. All right, so this whole 1 Chronicles 29:20 Revelation 5 thing, though, says, Then David said to the whole assembly, Praise the Lord your God. So they all praised the Lord, the God of their fathers. They were reading the NIV. They bowed, right? And so hence Lord for the divine name, right? Obviously, problem there. But let's go on. They bowed down, prostrating themselves before Jehovah. Trinitarians, you're Yahweh, okay? On your best day, translationally, you use Yahweh. They're bowing down. Look, Trinitarians, all the assembly, pasa he ecclesia. You understand, Trinitarians? You understand all Trinitarians, what you keep constantly trying to use selectively for your own purpose while simultaneously ignoring all, no pun intended, the references of all that don't agree with you? Oh man, Trinitarians, look what you've done. So right here, right, we have all the congregation. What are they doing, Trinitarians? They're praising Jehovah, God, and it says here, they bowed down, prostrating themselves. Right here, Trinitarians. Kemsantes ta gonata prosekunesan Kyrio kai to basile. You see, Trinitarians, right here, you have all, right? But obviously, even this, though this is all the congregation, right? Solomon, as king of the congregation, now he's becoming king right here, is still a part of the nation, right? Trinitarians, the nations, the tribes, the congregation. He's just the king. So he's set apart from it here, Trinitarians. He's set apart from it here with Yahweh. Your Yahweh, our Jahuah, Jaho, Jah in English, anglicized. You got all the congregation, Pasa He Ecclesia, Trinitarians. Is that all? Even if it is all, we still know that Solomon would be considered a part of this in a broader sense as its king, right, Trinitarians? Okay, so once again, we get all-inclusive language with an obvious exception. Now, all the congregation are bowing down to two individuals, bowing down and prostrating themselves, Trinitarians. And so Trinitarians really hate this text, I believe. Not only because of the use of proskeneo, right here, the verb they so oftenly cite, like I mentioned earlier, texts like Hebrews 1:6, used right here for both Yahweh and the King at the exact same time by the exact same people in the exact same setting. There's no difference. It says they bent their knees and worshiped Lord and King. Lord, of course, here in the later Septuagint copies that substituted terms, titles like Lord for the divine name, just like in the New Testament later text copies. Either way, right here, we have the exact same thing going on that we do in Revelation 5. We have God and the one whom he has enthroned as king. Here it's Solomon. In Revelation 5, it's the Son who conquered and sat down on his Father's throne because he was worthy and conquered. We have the exact same situation. And we have precedent in the Bible to show you are wrong. Your attempt to use the Trinity in Revelation 5 fails to take account a well-known text in the Bible that shows the exact same people can acknowledge both the King and God in the exact same way while worshiping them. So, Trinitarians, I don't know how long it's going to take you to forget this text. Probably not that long. That's why I recommend everyone go ahead and write this one down. I think you need to put this one in your Revelation 5 references because it'll help Trinitarians, hopefully, better understand what happens when God enthrones someone who's worthy. He allows them to be worshiped along with him by the same people because he knows that those people aren't retarded. He knows those people understand the difference between the one who gives the king the throne and the one who is given the throne. Whether it's Solomon right here or Jesus in Revelation 3, leading to the events of Revelation 5. For some reason, Trinitarians don't quite understand this process and depiction of God and his king in the Bible.